Hello, everyone. Welcome to Between the Shores. This afternoon, Joel and I are looking forward to chatting with you more about what voices are you listening to from Joel's message on
Mm.
Sunday. So, just a reminder that we come together weekly as part of Summerside Community Church, and we're just looking at, what is it that we want to really think through, reflect on. I like the word digest as we go between Sunday to Sunday. What are the things that are happening between the shores? And so
Yeah.
this week it's about what voices are you listening to? And Joel, I have to say, I really, really enjoyed your message on Sunday and how you went right back to Genesis and gave us a different way of looking at God's conversation with Adam, with Eve on what happened in the garden and how when God said,
Mm.
"Where are you?" It wasn't this like you're like, where are you? You're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like you use some different ways of how that could be interpreted. It was just, where are you? Do you know where you are? And then when he asked them the question, um, like basically in that where are you, it was also saying, well, who told you? Like when he was saying to them,
Yeah.
like, what, why do you say you're naked? They said, we're naked and we're like we gotta hide. And he's like, well, who told you that? And it was out of care and concern. And so I love the way that you unpacked this view of what happened in the garden and
Mm.
just the language that you is used is a poetic language, right?
Yeah.
It's a poetry sharing the story of the beginning where God created mankind and what happened. And I know myself growing up in the church, I've always viewed that story as Adam and Eve were in trouble. Like this was
Yeah.
bad and
Yep.
God was angry at them and banished them. And I'm learning in my later years that God was not, he loved his creation.
Yeah.
He loves us and he is not out to punish us. He's out to draw us back to himself. And
Yeah.
so, and I know that you've been digging into this discovery yourself
Yeah.
and it's had
Oh
an
man.
impact on you and it's definitely impacted me on Sunday when you shared. And so I'd love to hear more about kind of what stood out to you as you were preparing and getting ready to teach, or what were you even teaching yourself as you taught yesterday?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I've got to give a lot of credit, and I mentioned the message, but the Bema teaching, Bema podcast is where what I've been doing. Like I've tried to always do like a 1 year Bible thing for a long time,
Yeah.
and we do the Bible recap in church, and I love that. And like Terry Lee Cobble stuff is really good, but just wanting to do something different. I find after I do something a couple of years, I tend to just like go on autopilot,
Yep.
and which is just me. If I've heard something, I even switch translations of the Bible, so I start reading it instead of like, oh, I've read this before. And so this Bema podcast really jumped out in ways that I've never seen. And there's some teaching from a Jewish rabbi named David uh, Foreman or Furman. I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's really goes into depth of what the language of the Hebrew scriptures are and how that applies to culture. And it just gives depth to the story that I've never caught before and never
Mhm.
heard before in a way. It's not like it's something new. It's just that for at least for my generation,
Yep.
um, we've lost that in other language, you know. And so yeah, it really encouraged me to look at it and like, oh, my perspective on God was
Hmm.
tainted by my own cultural and I was losing the culture that the original language had. And that really just kind of, oh, okay, if I'm seeing this through a Hebrew perspective, the original, these are the things that they were hearing too. And that made me go, oh, well, that makes a whole lot more sense. And
Yes.
also it leaves a whole lot more questions.
Yeah.
And like, wow, there's so much which I love that God's not like I've got all the answers and just believe me.
Yeah.
It's like he's inviting us into relationship, and yeah, and that's what's really cool. Like because it is a story. I mean, life is a story, and all those struggles, and in that process is okay. So whose story are you going to believe?
Hmm.
And if this is God's story, then what's my part in it? What am I understanding of it? And really, that's that whole thing about who are you listening to?
Yes.
And the enemy definitely wants to tell a different story.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
and I love how you were sharing like it that understanding it from the Jewish context and how it was intended
yeah,
makes more sense. Like it's like, oh, okay. And then some ways, of course, it does ask more questions. But even
yeah,
as you were sharing about God's response in the garden and how he was really looking at like his heart is to restore and to cover them
yeah,
out of love. And that helped me go the God of the Old Testament, which we often have a hard time with, because it
yeah,
seems like he's angry throughout the Old Testament.
yeah,
Um, Hearing that from the very beginning, the first book, that no, his response was loving, shifts everything
yeah,
when it comes to looking at the Old Testament. Because we often feel like, oh, I like the New Testament because I like Jesus.
yeah, yeah.
He
Well,
seems really loving and kind.
we like the Greek. We
Yes,
we translate it better.
right.
And yeah, and the wild thing with the Hebrew, especially here from this, is they don't translate it intentionally. They leave a lot of questions so that you got to dig into it.
Oh,
And we like things all pre-digested and all clarified, black and white, which is very Greek thinking, where Hebrew thinking is like, no, just leave it wide open for people to search this out. Like here's all sorts of like we like it in what's funny is our culture's getting this way. We like it, especially in computers and stuff, we like Easter eggs.
right.
Like we like those hidden things
Things.
that like, oh, look for this.
Yes.
And that's what Hebrews does. It's the Hebrew language puts all sorts of Easter eggs, like rhyming words and things that sound
Oh,
like this, and language that means this, but it also means that. And if you don't get that, you're like, why does it keep repeating?
right. That doesn't make
And repetition actually in Hebrew means this is important, or look here, there's something more,
pay attention, right? Pay attention. There's
Yeah,
here. And
yeah,
I think as you said that as we think about the Hebrew scriptures and the fact that there is the gaps that we have to dig into to understand further, I feel like that's respecting the nature that like who we are. God created us in his
yeah,
to be there is mystery and there is beauty in things that you have to take your time to
yeah,
discover and to dig into. And so I feel like that's respecting the nature that we've been created with to um, think for ourselves, to allow our hearts to expand and to be with something and spend time with it before we have to like have an answer right now. It's God
yeah,
need to know. And there's a rest in that, like just
yeah,
rest. You don't have to have it all figured
yeah.
out.
And that exactly. I love that. You don't have to have it all figured out because so much of and on the other hand, it doesn't mean you can't ask questions.
Yes.
Like you can go, I don't get this. Okay, why?
Yeah.
Dig into dig into why you don't get this. But on other things like, all right, I get this, but wow, that just blows the whole thing all apart. And
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and both of those are really good tensions, because I think that's that whole idea of faith and trust. It's reason, but
Yes.
it's also beyond you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
That's right. Because God is so
Yeah,
much. He's so big, right? He's so vast, and it's
yeah,
not, he doesn't want us to know him. He does. He's
yeah,
not keeping things from us, but he is so much that it takes time for us
yeah.
to get to know him, and so he knows that to show us himself all at once too much because he
Well,
is so vast.
yeah, it's like Jacob wrestling with the angel. Why do you want to know my name? It's too wonderful for you to understand. You
Yes,
know, and it's like, huh?
isn't that
But
kind of like
that's yeah, but that's kind of that whole, God's like, I'm telling you what you need to know, but trust me, there's more.
yeah, yeah, and
And actually that's incredibly beautiful. Hope you're hoping there's more.
that's right. That's
But
right.
if all you want is a black and white answer, am I right?
Mm,
Then we dumb God down, or well, we dumb ourselves down. We dumb our faith down to the black and white. And I think that's just the struggle with this whole thing about the stories we tell ourselves, the voices that we listen to,
Yeah.
like we talk about the algorithm, like you're in this repetitive loop of you're only getting what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And God is so vast. And just it makes me think of this picture that's behind me. That's actually a painting that
Yeah,
was done a number of Christmases ago. But it is showing God coming to earth, and it shows the colors of heaven
yeah,
coming down to earth, and all the colors together do form the pure light, the pure white that comes
yeah,
to earth. And so there's a vastness, and there's beauty, and there's color to what he is. And it's this adventure that we get to be
yeah,
on as we seek to listen to his voice and how he speaks. And I love how like he knows us so well that he will speak to us. And he'll
mhm,
ask us the questions to help us dig deeper. Like the question of where are you
yeah,
is actually a
yeah,
really good question. Like, where are you? Are you hiding?
yep,
What's going on in you? Like it's a pretty vast question that I think it's worth. I would encourage people as you're listening to this and the two questions like where are you and who told you that are good
yeah,
questions to chew on, I think, and to digest and to reflect on as you go into this week, looking at your own life, your own views of God. Like, what have I been taught about God? And I think it's a bit like your message. I was like, I think there's those like it could go either way because it's disorienting to think, well, I was taught this, that this is how God responded. And now you're telling me that actually it's a loving response. And that
mhm,
can be a bit of disorientation to what do I do with what I heard before? How do I reconcile that that is not
yeah,
correct teaching? And how do I navigate this? And that's where we hold it before God and say, okay,
yeah,
God, what, who are you? And where am I? And what am I to listen to? And so that's the journey of seeking him and getting into his word. Like you talked about, Joe, like you have
yeah,
loved reading through scripture. And like after a few times with the same like program for lack of a better word or same
yeah.
process, oftentimes we want to go deeper. We want something different. So Bema, and is Bema spelled Bema, or how's it
Yep.
spelled?
It's just like, yeah, it's like, it's actually Bema. The
Bema.
Bema is like the Bema seat, the judgment seat, but Bema is actually the stand. It's a small little stand that when they would read the scripture in in a synagogue, they would stand only on that Bema in order to read the word because the word has supremacy over everything else. So only there would you'd step up onto the Bema, you would read the word and then step down to teach.
Oh,
So
that's
just saying,
fascinating.
yeah, kind of cool. Yeah,
So it
the
gives
Bema.
honor,
Yeah,
and
it's elevated, raised above everything else. Yep.
everything else. Wow. That's just something
Yeah.
to sit on and think through as well. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
picture of how to honor God's word and to recognize its place, not only when it's read, but in our lives as well. It deserves center and a focus and not to
And
be
it's the same word, just a different pronunciation
okay.
as the judgment seat. So you taken one way, someone would see this as a judgment seat. The other way, it's supremacy. Yeah.
Yes, because his
Yeah.
word does like does does
Yeah.
does cut, right, in terms of um
Yep.
what what it can show us and what it reveals to our hearts and how it convicts our hearts as well. So, wow. So, like that desire to go deeper in his word is a desire to know him. And as we
Yeah.
get to know God, there are things that we have to unlearn. That's the
Yep.
reality. And there's new things
Yeah.
that we're learning because there's times in our lives and things that have happened that God has been put in a box and he wants to blow up those boxes because he's got so much more for us to
Yeah.
know. So, yeah, absolutely. So, as you're reflecting and digesting going into this week, just Joel, you started a course for us. It's
Yeah.
this past Sunday, but it's still available. So, what can you
Yep.
share about what's
Hearing God seminars. We're going to do them for 5 weeks. We've already started week one, but you can still sign up online. If you go to the Church Life page, it'll give you a connection there. There's a little plus sign that says Hearing God Seminar. You can
happening?
sign up. We can send you the links for watching the great teach that you did on this week,
It's fun.
and watch that, and then be a part of the other ones on Sunday. Or you can even just continue to watch them online. We'll just post them as they come up, and there's a lot of practice and information. but also sheets to say, how do I flesh this out in learning how to hear God? And let that be the voice we're listening to instead of some of the other voices.
Absolutely. So that's Sundays from 1 to 3. So come
Yep.
to church, bring a lunch, hang out with some friends, and then join the course for the next 4 weeks. So that's awesome. Thank you, Joel. And we'll see
Yeah.
everyone back on Sunday and next Monday here on Between the Shores. So bye for now.
Good stuff.